Okay, we have it together here. I was able just to tap those bearings in. You'll want to use something that's about the same size as that bearing. What you want to try to avoid is tapping on the inner race there. Also, when putting those screws in, be careful not to tighten them down too much. You don't want that to be tight to move. You want that to move nice and free. And that's all we've got on that. Okay, I've run into another little snag. When I was putting the flybar together, I realized that there are two spacers. So when you place the flybar in here, you will need to have a spacer that goes on either side of that seesaw bar. Because without that spacer, you get too much slop in there. I didn't realize, or I didn't see the spacers yesterday or 2 days ago when I was working on this, but I was able to find one of them, unable to find the other spacer. So we may be at a standstill until I can get another spacer. Hopefully the hobby store will have the flybar kit that comes with them. I hate to buy a whole assembly just to get that one little spacer. I will continue to look for the spacer. If it happens to show up, then we'll continue on. If not, this video will be postponed until I get that spacer. Thanks. Okay, we're back in business. I was able to find that little bushing. You probably discovered that working with helicopters, there's all kinds of small little pieces, washers, bearings, bushings. So when you go to disassemble your helicopter, make sure that you keep a lookout for any of these little bitty parts, and maybe a good idea to maybe set them aside in a little baggie or container or something rather, so you don't lose them like I did. Anyhow, so we're going to assemble the flybar assembly here. One thing to keep in, or one thing to note, is that the bushings have a raised inner edge. I did not see how those came off because I wasn't watching for those bushings to begin with. I'm going to assume that that raised edge goes towards the bearing. Letting people know how those bushings go in there. And well, the other thing too, I'm going to maybe use a little dab is how it's assembled, with the edges pointing down and not up. And now the next step, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put the paddles on. I've decided I'm not going to put the flybar weights on it, and I have a spare main shaft. So what I'll do is I will mount this to my spare main shaft, and I will balance it when I put these the paddles on. And once I get that set up, we'll show you how that's done. Okay, here I got the flybar paddles on. And again, at any time you guys see me doing something that's not right, please comment. I'm still, I'm just a beginner at this. I'm not an expert, and so I'm learning as I go. But anyhow, I've got the flybar paddles on here. I took them in on the threads almost all the way in, and then I made sure that that we got it balanced, and looks good. Keep in mind that the head is going to rotate in a clockwise direction, as it's shown here. So you're going to want your flybar paddles to be positioned the proper direction for it to rotate in a clockwise direction here. You can try to eyeball them to make sure that they're straight with each other. But I'm not going to worry about it at this point here, because once I get all the head assembled, then I'll check for that using the pitch gauge. And alright, so next step is to reassemble to the helicopter and install the blade grips. Okay, gonna chalk this up for another lesson learned. I've got that seesaw bar on upside down. This has got to go on the other side, because my control linkage there needs to go over here. So I'm gonna have to take that all back apart again and rotate that over. I just hope I don't damage those bearings, because I have to take those bearings off again, and that's what started the whole thing to begin with regards to the bearings. And so those are brand new bearings I put in there, and I'm going to have to tap them back out. Hopefully I can do it without damaging them. Okay, I'm back. I was able to get those bearings off on that seesaw bar, get that seesaw bar going the other direction. As you can see, you want it facing in such a way to where the rod that comes up from the swash plate comes up at an angle, like so. So make sure when you go to put your seesaw bar on that you have it going the right direction and not upside down like I did. So the next step is to put the blade grips on. I've got them all set up here. All I'm going to have to do is just take off one blade grip side and then slide the feathering bar up inside, feathering rod I think you call it. And I've got the order that those are going in. You got the bushings, then you've got the brass washers there, and so we're just going to slide it in that order. It was mentioned earlier in the video, the proper order that all this goes into, and I'm get that on there and we'll be set with that, and I'll be back. Okay, got the head all set up, and I haven't made any adjustments to any of the servos yet. Haven't leveled the swash plate. We still have to do that, but I just found out that I bought these real nice Maverick G5 Pro carbon fiber blades. They were just a few dollars more than the carbon fiber blades that E-flite has for the Blade 450. The gentleman at the hobby store said to keep the shims from my old blades, but there were no shims, and I have discovered that these blades fit too loose in the head. So I am going to go to the hobby store this weekend and find out about these shims that the gentleman was talking about, if he's got any suggestions. He's a really good helicopter guy. His name is Rob, over at RC Hobbies there in Covington. But anyhow, I'd really like to use these blades. I like the way they look. He said that they're a very good performing blade. He said they have a nice sound to them. But worst case scenario, I'll just go back to the carbon fiber blades that E-flite has. I still have the wooden blades, but again, I've got the Blade 4 or the E-flite 440 motor on here, and again, I've been told that I shouldn't run those wooden blades on that motor, because the forces involved in the high speed of the head there, those wooden blades will just rip out. So that's it for today, and hopefully I'll have this up and ready to go here in the next couple of days with the test flight. Thanks for sticking with me, guys, and this is a learning process for me, and hopefully it will help somebody else out and they can avoid the problems that I've had if they watch this video. Thank you, and we'll see you in a couple of days.